start off with the title of the shir today is how is it possible how could the Mitzriyim get punished for enslaving the Yidden when there was the Gezeras Bris Bein haBesorim many years earlier. The Eibush had already told Avraham Avinu that it was destined. There was a Gezera decree. There was the Yidden were destined to be enslaved. So how could it's a famous question which is discussed by many different Rishonim, the Rambam and so on. And that's the main topic of today's discussion. However, just before that, I'll just like to just one or two unrelated ha'aras, interesting questions that come up in this week's parasha and in last week's parasha as well. Maybe discuss something from last week's parasha as well. We'll see. The question is in this week's parasha. It says, it happened already in last week's parasha. It says, "Vayelech ish mi beis Levi, vayikach es bas Levi." A man from the house of Levi went, vayikach bas Levi. He married the daughter of Levi, but it doesn't say that in the pasuk exactly who it's referring to. But we know it's Moshe's mother from the continuation of the story. And in this week's parasha, it says clearly that Moshe Rabbeinu's parents were Amram and Yocheved. And the Torah says that Ishmi Beis Levi, Yichris Bas Levi means, we see from this week's parasha, where it says clearly that Amram took Yocheved, his aunt. Yocheved was his aunt, it was auntie, which means to say that Amram was the son of Kahas, and Kahas was the brother of Yocheved. So it comes out that Amram was his aunt. Now there's a big problem over here, because the Torah forbids one to marry one's aunt. It's one of the aroyas, it's one of the forbidden marriages, forbidden relations in Parshas Achrei Mot Kedoshim. So the question arises, how is it possible for Moshe Rabbeinu, for Moshe Rabbeinu's parents, for more than that, for Moshe Rabbeinu to be born from such a union which would be later forbidden by the Torah. So so there's actually two stages. First of all, we have to address a bigger question, because even if you're going to say that the fact that it's before Matan Torah is a sufficient answer for why Moshe Rabbeinu's parents were not bound by the Torah, there's a bigger question, because Goyim are also have got one of the 7 mitzvahs is not to these incestuous relationships, these relationships which are connected to family. So the answer to that, so we have to understand, how could Amram marry Yocheved? Midin ben Noach. How could Amram marry his aunt when a ben Noach is also is forbidden to marry his aunt and to live with his auntie? So the answer to that is given that Amram was the Bnei Noach are more limited. The other way around. They're more Bnei Noach, when non-Jews, they're forbidden to marry their aunt, but it's not any aunt. It's only if they're not allowed to marry their parent's sibling, but only if the sibling is from both parents. But if the parent or from the mother, that's the main point. If the sibling is from the father alone, then it's okay. So the answer is given that the reason why Amram could marry Yocheved is because Amram was the son of Kahas, and Kahas was the brother of Yocheved, but the relationship between Kahas and Yocheved was such that they were half siblings. Kahas was from the same father as Yocheved, as is clearly in the passage, Yocheved Bas Levi, but they had a different mother. And being that was the case, Mitzad Dini Ben Noach, as far as non-Jews were concerned, as far as the status of somebody before Matan Torah, it was actually permitted for Amram to marry his aunt in such a case, because it was only the sister of his father from the mother and not from the father. So that's to answer the biggest question that we have. The biggest question that we have to address is how he could marry his aunt when even Goyim, even Bnei Noach, are forbidden to marry their aunt. So the answer to that is it depends which aunt we're talking about. If it's an aunt which is the sibling of one's parent, but only from the father, then that's permitted. It's only an aunt which is one's aunt through the aunt being a sibling of one's parent from the mother's side that is a problem.
Datan and Aviram was also from Shevet Levi from Kehat.
Who?
Datan and Aviram.
No. Datan and Aviram was Shevet Reuven, but either way, what's the...
No, I'm just trying to get...
No, Datan and Aviram were from Shevet Levi, Shevet Reuven.
How it's said about Amram? Amram ben Kehat ben Levi, Datan and Aviram. And the Pasuk, the end of the Pasuk, right?
No, Datan and Aviram were Bnei Eliyav.
Talking about Korach?
No, it's about Amram. Amram ben Kehat ben Levi.
Ben Yaakov. Levi was the son of Yaakov.
Okay, and then it said Datan va'Aviram, no? After that?
Bnei Reuven.
Bnei Reuven?
Bnei Reuven.
On ben Pelet.
Bnei Reuven.
Okay.
Maybe you have a different book.
Just trying to think how it's...
Okay, let's carry on. So what's the question that we're addressing? The question over here is really, it's a little bit of, it's two questions. Number one is more of a question, I'll be pshat. We know that the Avos kept the Torah before the Torah was given. And presumably it wasn't just the Avos, but they gave it over to their children and grandchildren that they should also follow this way. So how is it possible that Amram should transgress the Torah, even though he wasn't transgressing the din of Bnei Noach, who could marry such a type of aunt? But how could Amram marry Yocheved when Yocheved was forbidden based on the Torah, based on the Torah's laws? And the Avos kept the Torah before the Torah was given. But even deeper, the question is, how is it possible that Moshe, the leader of the Klal Yisrael, could be born from such a union which would be later forbidden by the Torah? It's more of a hashkafic question. How is it possible that the leader of Klal Yisrael should be born from such a yichud, such a union, which would be later forbidden by the Torah? It's a negative, even if it's not asur, even if it's not forbidden, it can't be a positive thing for such a thing, because the fact that the Torah later forbids it indicates that it's a negative thing. So this question is addressed by the Mefarshim, and the Rebbe has a letter about it, and he answers very similar to what the Rabbeinu Bechaye says in Parashas Chayei Sarah. In Parashas Chayei Sarah, it talks over there regarding the fact that Avraham instructed Eliezer to go find a wife for Yitzchak from his own family. So in that context, Rabbeinu Bechaye explains, amongst other things, one of the things he says there is that the pasuk is teaching us that it's actually a positive thing to marry in one's own family. In other words, although it's a positive thing to marry in one's own family. The Rebbe says it slightly differently. What's pshat? In other words, the Rabbeinu Bechaye says that good people marry good people. You have to marry someone who's on the same level as you. You marry someone who's on a lower level than you, then it can cause friction. If you marry someone who's on a higher level than you, it can cause friction. You have to marry on the same level. And therefore, all things aside, it's a good idea, it's a good thing to marry one's own family. In fact, there's a halacha in Hilchos Even Ha'ezen, the laws of getting married, that is actually a mitzvah. It's not a chiyuv, it's not an obligation. It's a mitzvah to marry one's niece, which is permitted.
Is that from one side, from the brother?
No, and one's niece is the other way around. One's niece means when the man is on the higher generation, as opposed to in this case with Yocheved, where Yocheved was on the higher generation.
No, but I'm saying even the niece is mutter for us to marry our
any
niece.
side,
But
yeah.
the Gemara says it's a mitzvah min hamuvcher, and I think that's only one side.
Could be, to marry your daughter of your brother, maybe.
I'm not sure which one it is, but on one of them it says mitzvah min hamuvcher.
Okay. Be it as it may, the Bechaye in Parashas Chayei Sarah says it's a good thing to marry your own family. Yeah, because
there's more in common.
More in common, but the Rabbeinu Bechaye is also saying that the same good midas which hopefully you have, or the bad midas which you have, but in the case of Avraham Avinu and in the case of Amram, because he's also addressing the question of Amram. That's why. How could Amram marry Yocheved when Yocheved was his aunt, who would later be forbidden by the Torah? This is the question that we're addressing. So he explained, because before the Torah was given, it wasn't yet forbidden, and on the other hand, it was a good thing to marry in one's own family. The Rebbe says slightly different. The Rebbe says that in the days before Matan Torah, the world was very materialistic. People were involved with Avodah Zarah. They had the wrong views. They were involved in immorality and terrible midas. So therefore, there wasn't many people to choose from. So those few people who did recognize the Eibishter and organized their lives in a moral manner, and they wanted to, and they were serving the Eibishter, so they had to make sure that their zivug, the person that they're going to marry, is going to be amongst this small group of people who are on the straight, the narrow, and the straight path.
Rabbi, you know the Syrian community.
One second. So, and we know that the nature of children is similar to their parents, so therefore they would often go and marry in their own family. And Even Ezra, on last week's parasha, where it talks about Amram marrying Yocheved, makes a similar point. He says that the similar point that he says that this proves that unlike those people who think that it's better to dafka marry, that the marriages which are from other families are more successful, and marriages from your own family is less successful, he says that this pasuk proves it otherwise. And no, there's an inyan of marrying dafka within one's own family. And the reason why the Torah later forbids marrying in one's own family is not because that some people want to suggest, is because those shidduchim don't work out well. Rather, it's Gezeras Akosov. The Torah forbade. This is what comes out from the Ibn Ezra, at least in his opinion, that the reason why we're not allowed to marry certain members of our family is not because there's something bad going to come out of it. V'haraya, the proof being that Moshe Rabbeinu was born from such a relationship which the Torah later forbade, but rather the reason why the Torah forbids it is Gezeras Akosov. Yeah, what were you going to say about the Syrian community?
The Syrian community, the Halabi, 99.999% married among themselves.
Who is this? Who?
The Syrian
From
community, the
Aleppo,
Halabi,
people from Aleppo.
Lapo, they married among themselves. They try not to marry nobody from outside, even Sephardic.
Yeah.
But if you're not from Halab or Lapo,
A lot of the Moroccans as well always used to marry their cousins, but no, close family members. They used to marry.
No, by the way, it's very common in my family. I have my uncle and aunt were first cousins.
even Ashkenazim.
But it causes problems with heredity.
Health issues.
Yeah, health
medical.
issues.
Undoubtedly.
Hemophilia.
I was sick.
Right.
So you're saying what it says in the Chumash with the when Bilam came. So Rashi says that the Goyim themselves were Gedurim Barayas, and this guy came and he was pirates it. In Parshas Balak, Rashi mentions
Right.
it. So according to what you're saying, whatever they were Gedurim, it wasn't exactly the Arayas of the Torah, because you're saying even al pi Torah, a Ben Nayach could marry this type of aunt. Right, what you said.
Could mean that Rashi over there means that they just kept the halakha.
I
Because he
my
says Shnias
impression-
Laroyas, does it say or something over there?
I think my impression was he wanted to say that even them, without a Torah, they saw it's not good. They were Gedurim, but now came this guy, this Bilam or whatever, and he was pirates that the guy themselves had. But all right, but that's my impression. But it could be you're right. You're saying Gedurim mitam the din of
The ones that
Nayach.
they're forbidden. The ones that are forbidden. It could be. Yeah.
But I'll call upon them. It's not the same list like us, obviously, because by us it's forbidden.
Anyway, I just thought I'd start off with that. But let's get now to the main. Also, while people came, it wasn't such a bad idea. Now let's get to the main topic of the shir. The main topic of the shir is with regards to the reason why the Mitzriyim could be punished, despite the fact that there was a Gezera by the Bris Bein haBesorim that the Yidden would be enslaved. In other words, how could they be punished for doing something which the Eibishter wanted? And this is a fundamental question in general. When one person hits another person,
It's Basher.
it's b'shert, exactly. The Eibishter wants everything that people do. The Eibishter wants to happen. So how can there be free choice at the same time? How can we be punished for our bad choices, for exercising our bad free choice, when we know, on the other hand, we know that everything is bashart? So let's go slowly through this. Let's go slowly through it. So we'll start off with the Rambam. The Rambam discusses the issue of free choice and starts off with in Prokim Perik K and Perik Vav. So in Perik K, he starts off with saying as follows: that this is a very fundamental principle of faith, that free choice. Yeah, in Perich Hamishi Halacha Aleph, he says, "Rishus kol adam nesunaloi, im rotza lehatis atzmi lederech toiva v'li yasadik rishus biyadoi, im rotza lehatis atzmi lederech ra v'li yisrasha rishus biyadoi," etc., etc. That the person has free choice. If he wants to go on a good path, he can go on a good path and be a tzaddik. If he wishes to go on a bad path and to be a rasha, rishus biyadoi. The Torah the Eibishter doesn't force anybody to do anything. And in Siv Gimel, just going to read some parts of it. In Siv Beis, Al Yavoy b'machshavtecha davar zeh she'im tipshei ha'umeis v'roiv gol mei b'nei Yisrael. You shouldn't entertain the thought that this matter, which is what the foolish nations of the world say, but then he adds, it was not just the foolish nations of the world. V'roiv golmei b'nei Yisrael. The Rambam says that most of the simple, I guess, a golmei, a goylam. V'roiv golmei b'nei Yisrael. Most of the simple masses of the Jews that they think, at least in those days, they thought. Since the Eibush is in control of everything, so the Eibush from the beginning of creation decides this guy's going to be a tzaddik, this guy's going to be a Rasha. I'm not pointing to anybody over there. Yeah, Reuven's going to be a tzaddik, Shimon's going to be a Rasha. You can't say such a thing. Ein Adam v'kein ala kol Adam v'Adam. Every single person, regardless of who he is and what his personal circumstances are, Roi li tzaddik Moshe Rabbeinu. It's possible for him to be a tzaddik like Moshe Rabbeinu, or Rasha ki Yeravam, or Rasha like Yeravam, who was a terrible Rasha. And then it carries on to say that this doesn't just apply to being Chacham or Rasha, but even to other midas, other midas toivus and midas rois. And no one's forcing him. And therefore, the Rambam carries on and says, someone who does sin, it's his own fault. You can't blame Yaveris on your circumstances. If I would have different circumstances, I wouldn't be able to sin. Yes, certain circumstances maybe make it a little bit more difficult, a little bit easier. No one's, sometimes it's understandable why a person sins, but a person never has an excuse why to sin. A person ultimately always has free choice. There's never a Gezera. The Eibush never decided this person be a tzaddik, this person be a rasha. And in Sif Gimel he says, this is one of the fundamentals of faith, right? And it's the Amud HaTorah VaMitzvah. It's the pillar of the Torah and the mitzvah.
I have a question on
One second. And then he brings two proofs why you must say that there's free choice. And basically one of them is, I'll say outside first, one of them is that without the concept of free choice, there can't be the concept of mitzvahs and averas. The whole Torah is 630 mitzvahs, do this, do that, do the other. If there's no free choice, then the Eibusher can't tell you to do something. He can't tell you to do something when I don't have the choice to do it. So obviously, the fact that there's mitzvahs proves that there must also be free choice. And proof number two is from reward and punishment. The Eibishter, the whole Torah is full of saying that if you do the right thing you get rewarded, and if you do the wrong thing you get punished. It's impossible for a person to get rewarded or punished if he had no choice in the matter. Right? These are basic, but the Rambam goes through it all very nicely. Yeah? So let's just read it inside. If the Eibishter would have decreed from a person that he should be either tzaddik or rasha, and the Eibishter decided, and that's how it's going to be. Or there'll be some other force which would draw a person to a certain bad way or to bad midah, like some people think. How could the Eibishter through his prophets, meaning in the Torah, tell us to do this or not to do this? Right, and then he carries on. With which type of judgment could the Eibishter reward or punish at Rasha and at Tzaddik? It wouldn't be fair to punish somebody if you had no choice. Those are the two proofs. There must be free choice. First of all, without free choice, there could be no concept of a mitzvah. And number two, there could be no concept of reward and punishment. That's basically in Perek Hay. And then the Rambam deals with some other issues. Over here, how it fits in with some different things. We'll leave that for the moment, and then we'll now get to Perek Vav, where here he actually talks a little bit about how this fits in with the fact that there's psukim in the Torah which seem to imply otherwise. Basically, there's psukim in the Torah which seem to imply that there is the Eibusher does decide certain things about even with regards to good and bad, whether someone's doing good or bad. What were you going to ask?
I was asking about the Rambam. The Rambam did not know that Hashem gave us Yetzer Hara. It's not up to us. Yetzer Hara, day and night is fighting for you to make Avera.
And then you have a Nefesh Elokis on the other side. You have a godly soul. You have a drive to do good.
Well, he's more winning than everybody else, Yetzer Hara. Everybody, you can see since the creation of the world, Yetzer Hara is the greatest malach that Hashem created.
So then how can someone be punished? You have to answer that question. So obviously there must be free choice. You're saying that the Yetzer Hara is stronger than the Yetzer Tov. So one possibility is, well, it's not really, meaning yes, the drive might be closer to a person and stronger, but on the other hand, from a rational perspective, it actually makes no sense to listen to the Eitzar. So there's like competing forces. On the one hand, yes, as far as our taivas are concerned, our impulses and our urges, the urge is very strong to sin, and it's very close to us, and it seems to be very much, the urge to sin is much stronger than the urge to do mitzvahs, on the one hand. But on the other hand, if someone actually thinks with his seichel for a moment, not with any other part of his body, the person thinks with his seichel, so then he realizes that in fact all the things of the Eitzara are destructive behaviors, they're self-defeating, they're not going to get you anywhere, they make no sense. And so on the other hand, you just have to use those forces. You have to use the nefesh hasichlis and nefesh halikis, the godly soul, the soul which thinks, to be able to counter the Eitzar. But for sure, your person does have free choice. That's what the Rambam is saying. For sure, the person has free choice, and he can read the Torah, he sees what it says in the Torah, he knows what's right, and he has the choice to do what's right.
So does he bring up in this chapter about the Mitzrayim?
No, so this is in Perek Vav. We're going to get there.
Oh,
there's two issues with the Mitzrayim. Let's get there.
No, but he brings it up. The Rambam.
He does. In this, just in the next Perek, not the Perek that we. I was until now I was reading certain parts of Perek Hey. In Perek Vav, he starts off the Perek by saying, "Psukim harbe yesh b'Torah v'divrei neviim she'nirin kasoishin ikazeh." There are many psukim in the Torah and in the prophets which seem, in other words, and at first glance they seem as if they contradict this principle which I've laid out to you of free choice. And many people, or most people, stumble in this. They think that the Eibush actually has decided and decreed that person must do good or bad, and the person doesn't have control over his heart. However, the Rambam says that I'm going to tell you. However, I'm going to explain to you these psukim in such a way. So first of all, he deals with, I'm not going to go into everything, but basically he asks a question from Pari, not the question I'm asking now, a different question. It says in the Torah many times, in the psukim, already in Shmois, the Eibishter told, Hashem tells Moshe, Vani akshes leiv Pari, I'm going to harden the heart of Pari. In Vo'ero, in Boi, many times, that sometimes it was Pari hardened his own heart, but sometimes, and even then, in some opinions understand it to mean Hashem did. But there's many times which explicitly says that Hashem hardened the heart of Pari. So how that seems to go against the principle of free choice. So this is a question which other Mefarshim address as well. According to the Sfarnoi and others, no, that's the Rambam. Yeah, according to the Sfarnoi and others, we'll get that. According to the Sfarnoi and others, it was like this. It was in order to balance things out. If the Eibishter didn't harden Pari's heart, and he would just give the Makkos. The Eibishter wanted to give the Makkos in order to, for many reasons. One of them, maybe we'll get to this at the end of the Shir, but primarily the reason is that to punish the Mitzriyim for what they've done. So the Eibishter is giving the Mitzriyim the Makkos. Any normal person, after being struck with Dom and Sephardeya, I don't know how many Makkos, but one or two Makkos would say, get out of here.
Yeah.
So in order to, but the Eibishter didn't want that. The Eibush didn't want that. Why did Hashem not want that? This is the Sfarno who says this. Hashem didn't want this because then it wouldn't have been tshuva. It wouldn't have been Paroi and the Mitzrayim wouldn't have been doing tshuva. It wouldn't have been, we did something wrong, we need to regret it. Rather, it would have been, we can't bear these makkos. It would have been from the pressure, it would be external pressure of the makkos. Hashem wanted that the tshuva should come from within them. So therefore, Hashem hardened the heart of Paroi. Hashem hardened the heart of Pari. So, it seems he doesn't have free choice. No. I think the answer to that is that there was free choice because on the Makkos, it was to balance things out. The Makkos alone kind of took away Pari's free choice because the Makkos itself would have caused him to send the Yidden out without even thinking about it, without even going into whether it was right or wrong, just the pressure of the Makkos. So Hashem hardened his heart to equal things out. That's what the Sfarnoi and others said. In other words, he still did have free choice. However, the Rambam writes differently. The Rambam writes, actually, this is one of the exceptions. Hashem did take away Pari's free choice. We said there's a principle of free choice. So the Rambam writes in Halacha Gimel, he doesn't necessarily ask it in a way of answering a question, but that's what comes out of it. The The Rambam writes as follows: it's possible that a person will sin one very big sin, or many sins, until the in English, it's possible that a person can do such a great sin that the Eibishter will decide, the true judge will decide that this person's punishment is going to be that we're not going to let him do tshuva. That's the punishment. Yes, he had free choice to start off with, but you only have free choice up to a certain level. Once you mamish did so many aveiros that now you don't deserve to have the free choice, and your punishment is actually that you don't get to do tshuva. That we're going to take away your free choice. We don't give you the possibility. One second, we don't give you the possibility of doing tshuva. Then he gives some examples, and then he gets to Parah. He says, "Leficha kosav b'Torah v'ani achazek esleiv Parah." Therefore, he says in the Torah that I will strengthen the heart of Parah. Lefi shechoto me'atzmoi. Parah himself sinned from his own account. And he was evil to the Yidden. He caused bad to the Yidden who were in his land. Therefore, the judgment was, it was part of the judgment of the Eibishter that we're going to take away from him to do tshuva. Lefichach chazak HaKadosh Baruch Hu es libay. If so, the question arises, so then why, if he's not, so then what was Moshe asking him to do? What was Moshe going to Parah the whole time to do tshuva? So that's, in other words, it was for everyone else. This was to prove a lesson to everyone else. You should know that when you do certain types of aveiros, you're not allowed to do, the Eibishter will stop you from doing tshuva. Okay, that's one question that the Rambam addresses. We haven't yet got to the main question, but the first question I'm addressing is how could it be that Hashem hardened the heart of... I'm going to get to the question in a second. How could Hashem harden the heart of Parah when that seems to be against the free choice? So there's two answers. The Sforno answers that it was so that the tshuva should come from a real place. It wasn't taking away the free choice. It was because with the Makkos was a pressure for him to send the Yidden out. And Hashem wanted the tshuva to come from him doing right and wrong. So therefore he hardened his heart. And then eventually when he did tshuva, it came from a realization of the Eibishter and from a realization of doing the right thing, and he did tshuva. That's the Sforno. And the Rambam writes, and no, the Taka, sometimes we take away your free choice. When your sins are so great, so then it can be that Hashem will take away your ability to do tshuva, and your person will die without having done tshuva, and that's what Hashem did to Parah, and he gives some other examples as well.
My question is, we see that at the end by Makkos B'Chodesh, that finally the Mitzriyim did an uprising. What took them so long?
Or change the battery in the device.
That's my question is.
But it's not so related to this. I understand what you're saying.
No, because
you're right. You're saying Hashem didn't. Maybe I'll ask. I don't know if this is your question.
Listen,
Hashem didn't harden their heart.
Right to lead. Look what's going on. Can't you understand what's going on? Let's move forward and get rid of these people. Because he was the one
right
who came up with the idea.
Yeah, I don't know how that fits in.
We're multiplying too fast, and they have to do something about it. Instead of deciding, okay, let's kick them out of here.
Yeah, I don't know how that fits in, because essentially also you can add to your question that Hashem didn't harden the hearts of the Mitzriyim. It was only Parah's heart, so they should have been wanted to get them out much earlier.
Right, no, but the question...
So there are things in the parasha, there are certain times...
Even though they lived in Goshen, if Parah didn't do anything, then the Yidden would have stayed there. And Taka would have been for 400 years. Instead, because of this whole thing, it cut everything short.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Another question. Toward the end, Pharaoh came to Moshe and said, Ami ve'ani achotim, me and my nation are the sinner. Go. Of course he would say, after so many makot, one after one, you picked up your hand, go already.
That's what we're saying, Hashem hardened his heart. That Hashem
hardened. He didn't make tshuva, because there's no choice to make tshuva. That's what I think. After 10 makot.
So I think it depends according to the Rambam or which answer we gave. According to the Sforno, maybe there was tshuva. Hashem hardened his heart, but eventually he was tshuva. If it was just because of the Makkos, it should have been much earlier. That's what I'm saying. If it was just because of the Makkos that Pari let them out, if that's what you're saying, then he shouldn't have needed 10 Makkos. So it could be that it was Hashem hardened his heart, and that's why he didn't send them out. And when he did finally send them out, it was because of tshuva. Or maybe it wasn't, but at least that's what Hashem wanted from Pari. Hashem wanted him to do tshuva. The Rambam, again, the Rambam says that it wasn't tshuva. The Rambam, according to the Rambam, you're right. Pari didn't do it tshuva at all. Hashem hardened his heart, and I guess Pari just at some point, the Makkos, because of the pressure of the Makkos, he was forced to. It wasn't tshuva. He was just pressure. He just had no choice. And in fact, what about free choice? The Rambam says that there are exceptions to the rule. One of them being when a person has such a big sin, that's his punishment. His punishment is Hashem takes away his free choice. Okay. Now let's get to the only question now is a different question. Talking if on the topic of the Mitzriyim, the question is that the pasuk says clearly, how can people get punished when in certain instances there's actually a Gezera? The Eibishter says that this is going to happen. People are going to sin. So he starts off. I'm going to read it inside. It says in Parashas Lech Lecha that there's going to be a nation which is going to enslave the Yidden and is going to inflict them. It emerges from this passage that the Eibishter made a decree that the Mitzriyim have to do bad. Someone has to do it. So he was decreeing on the Egyptians to do bad, and then he gives other psukim. One second, then he gives other psukim. So the answer that the Rambam gives, the Rambam says there was no decree on each individual to be the one to go astray or to be the one who sins. I'll get to the part where he talks about Parai. Each individual Egyptian who caused sorrows, who caused pain and harm to the Yidden, if he wanted not to, he could have not. He had the choice not to. The Eibishter didn't make a Gezera on a specific person that you Mitzri, whatever your name is, has to enslave the Egyptian. There was a general Gezera that his children are going to be enslaved in a land which isn't theirs. That's what the Rambam says. That's what the Rambam says. The Rambam's basically saying, and we'll elaborate, we'll explain a little more soon what Pshat is. The Rambam's basically saying that ultimately there's no when is the free choice taken away? If there was a Gezera that Reuven ben Levi, for example, is going to do an Aveira. If the Eibush would make such a Gezera and he would tell the grandfather of Reuven ben Levi that you are going to do an Aveira, so then he has no choice in the matter. A Gezera takes away. But with the Mitzriyim, there was no Gezera on the individual and each individual Egyptian that he must sin. There was a general Gezera that the Yidden would be enslaved by another nation. Now, other Mefarshim ask on this Rambam. Other Mefarshim ask on this Rambam.
I wasn't going to give it to you.
The Raavad, for example, right on the page, the Raavad who asks on the Rambam is if the Masig und sagt, as oib yoyma aboyer lezoinim lama zanisa v'ani lo yizkarticho b'sheim, kedei shetoyim esholechel gezarti yoymur lo yazoinim v'ami chol gzeras chal oizen sheloizon v'hini lo niskayim gzeras. What's the Raavad saying? The Raavad is saying that if the Creator of the world would turn to those people who are sinning and tell them, why did you make a sin? I never said that you should sin. I just said that people should sin. So what will they turn back to him? They'll turn back to him and they'll say, the Raavad in a rhetorical manner. The Raavad says, they'll turn back to him and say, and who was the Gezera for? And the people who didn't? It had to be somebody. So Lemaisa, in other words, bottom line, the Raavad is saying, bottom line, we're doing the Gezera of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So how can we have free choice? How can you say there's free choice when somebody has to do the sin? How can you say, since it has to be somebody...
Totally disagrees with that.
So the Ravid is totally disagreeing with the Rambam, yeah, and the Ravid is saying that ultimately, since somebody has to do the sin, like in this case, there has to be some Mitzrayim out there who are enslaving the Jews, so then they don't have free choice. What to make a difference that someone else could have done it? So what does the Ravid himself say? What does the Ravid himself say? The Ravid himself says a number of things, but in his second answer he says that really the reason why the Mitzrayim were punished, to answer our original question, the topic of the Shir, the reason why the Mitzrayim was punished is because they went overboard. The Gezera wasn't, the Gezera of the Yidden, the Gezera of Hashem, the Gezera of Hashem for the Mitzrayim to punish, to enslave the Yidden was exactly that, to enslave them, that they should get them to work. But they went overboard. The Eibusher says that they should inflict the Yidden. They took rigorous work, terribly hard work. They killed some of them. That wasn't part of the Gezera. Did anywhere the Eibusher say that the Mitzrayim had to kill the Yidden? No. But Tavu Mehem, and they threw the kids in the Nile. They drowned them. The Fichach Nischayvu, that's what the Ravid says. That's why they're Nischayvu. That's what the Ravid says. The Ravid says that they went overboard. They did more than the Gezera was. But if they were just kept to the Gezera, then it's not just how could they be punished. If they just kept to the Gezera, you can't. Then they wouldn't have been able to be punished for such thing, because then that would have gone against their free choice. So now, according to the Raiva, the Gezera does take away free choice, but in general, there isn't. Gezera would take away free choice. Gezera would take away free choice, but in this case, the Mitzrayim were punished not because they exercised their free choice, and now which they went overboard. They went more than the Gezera. The Gezera was just to afflict them. They embittered them in the terech with rigorous work. They killed them. They drowned them. They went.
Shouldn't they have?
How do we answer the Rambam? That's going to be the next.
Wait, shouldn't they have knowledge of the Gezera? I mean, the typical Egyptian on the street. What did he know about a Gezera?
Right. So the point is not. Okay. So according to the Ravid, I think if I understood the Ravid correctly, the point of the Ravid is not whether they knew the Gezera or not. The problem is like this: that if a Gezera exists, then that takes away someone's free choice. If there's a divine decree that something must be done, right? The Mitzrayim must, then that takes away their free choice. And if it takes away the free choice, then they can't be punished whether they knew or not. That's the point. You get it?
Sure.
So even if they didn't know it, even if they didn't know the Gezera, there's a decree. Right? If someone's forcing me to sin, I can't be punished for it, regardless of whether I know who's forcing me and why they're forced. If the Lamaisa I'm forced, I can't be punished. That's what the Ravid says. So therefore, exactly. So therefore, the Ravid says that they did more than the Gezera. The Gezera was up to a certain level, and with regards to that, there was no free choice. But the rest of your activities, there is free choice, and they didn't have to go and do more than the Gezera, and they were punished for that. That's what the Ravid says in one of his terutzim, in one of his answers. How do we answer the Rambam? So the Rambam obviously holds, the Rebbe says, but this is Pashup Pshat, that the Rambam obviously holds that no, that everything the Mitzrayim did to the, conversely, the Rambam holds that no, everything the Mitzrayim did to the Yidden was part of the Gezera. The Gezera was that the Yidden should go through all this terrible embitterment, and that some of them should die, etc., etc. That was all part of the Gezera. And therefore the Rambam has to come up with a different teretz as to why they didn't have free choice, that why they still had free choice. And his answer was that it doesn't take away your free choice because according to the Rambam, since every single Mitzri didn't have to do it, so it comes out they did have free choice. That's what the Rambam says. And this is based on, it's like the Alter Rebbe says in Gezeras HaKodesh. The Alter Rebbe in Gezeras HaKodesh in Tanya says that Kol HaKodesh is explaining over that Kol HaKodesh is Kilo Ovid Avodah Zarah. It's why Kol HaKodesh is Kilo Ovid Avodah Zarah.
Kol what?
Kol HaKodesh. Anyone who's angry, it's as if he serves Avodah Zarah. So he basically says that because everything comes from the Eibishter, so if you get, what's anger? Anger is when things don't work your way, you get angry. So it means that you're not recognizing the Eibishter. If you recognize how everything's for the good and everything's from the Eibishter, then you wouldn't get angry. Just a second. If someone hits me and how is that from the Eibishter? He's exercising his free choice. And we know free choice is outside, the Eibishter lets a person have free choice. So the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, very similar to the Rambam, that al hanizik v'hanigza min hashmayim. There's two elements. When I get hurt by somebody, the fact that there's two inyanim. There's the fact that I'm hurt, and there's the fact that Reuven is the one hurting me. The fact that Reuven is the one hurting me, that's his free choice. But the fact that I'm hurt, that's from the Eibishter. If the Eibishter has decreed upon me that I'm going to lose such and X amount of money, or the Eibishter has, through someone stealing from me, the Eibishter has decreed upon me whatever hardships I have in my life. That's the Eibishter's decree, and therefore I shouldn't get angry. However, the fact that it should be done through such and such a person, that's his evil choice. It didn't have to be him. It could have been somebody else. Harbe shluchim lamokim, the Lashon Tanya. The Eibishter had many different shluchim, many different people who could do it. That means to say, in other words, that even though the poyol, when the mazik actually, when the person, the person damaging, hurts the nizak, he is actually doing the Gezera, he's doing what the Eibishter decreed, but nevertheless, he gets punished because he didn't have to be the one to do it.
So who will do it?
Someone else.
Someone else will be in the same position like this one.
It could be a total different story.
Right, yeah, you're right, someone else could be punished, but that's not the point is that I'm getting punished because I was the one who did it. If that someone else did it, yeah, it goes backwards. That's the shit of the Rambam. That's the shit of the Rambam. The Raiva, you're thinking more in terms of the Raiva. It's hard to get down to the bottom of it, but the Rambam is basically saying that there's the result and there's the action. The result is a shkaka pratis. The result is a Gezera from the Eibishter. But how that result happens, the Eibishter has so many different ways it can happen. If you want to say in a different word, maybe it doesn't have to be through a human being. But even if it does, it doesn't have to be through this human being. You're the one who chooses to do bad, you get punished for doing bad.
Yeah,
we'll, in a second, we'll go even deeper with this, and I think it'll answer your question.
But if it has to be done by some Mitzri, whoever it is,
yeah.
In the end it turns out that there is at least one Mitzri who...
Yeah, but no specific Mitzri, that's the point.
No, but
there's no one specific Mitzri who there's a Gezera on.
No, but there is a Gezera that there must be a Mitzri.
Yeah, true.
And
so a Mitzri is like somebody. It's anybody. It's not. There's no specific person.
But all let's say
each Mitzri could say someone else will do the Gezera.
But okay, but it'd be impossible. Let's say for all the Mitzrim to get together and have a Seret Teshuvah and say none of us are going to do it. That's impossible. That's an impossibility.
They couldn't do that.
They could not do that because one of them has to do it.
So I think maybe this is like you're coming from the Raivat's perspective. And the Rambam is saying that at the end of the day, first of all, they didn't know the Gezera. Maybe that's part of it. But at the end of the day, each Mitzri had free choice. Each Mitzri could say, "I'm not doing it," and yeah, they can't all not say, "Okay, that's it." But each person has free choice. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I also can understand that. The truth is, the next stage of when we get to a deep understanding of the Ram, I think will answer your question as well.
I hate to bring it up, but it says in the Mishnah, or maybe in the Gemara rather, that a community that tolerates a beis din that's crooked is punished from Hashem. But that community has a choice whether or not they want that beis din. So they're punished, but they're punished collectively. However, in the case of the Mitzrayim, they had a paro, they had a king, they had a whatever, and he was the absolute ruler. They considered him God. Lahavdil.
But they had free choice not to listen to.
They did not have free choice to listen. That's the whole. There is no way you have free choice.
Sure, that's free choice.
They do not have it. They do not.
They would be killed, so that's what you have to do. You have to be killed.
If your king says, if he was a god, he wasn't an elected official. He wasn't. He was a god. He was. Look, if you disobeyed David HaMelech, what were you?
Doesn't mean you don't have free choice.
What were you entitled to get?
So, but that doesn't mean you don't have free choice. Free choice means that doesn't mean you have free choice. You still have free choice. The right thing to do is to stand by your morals. If someone says to the Alpi Torah, if someone says to some,
all right.
I think you still have free choice at the time. You don't.
I don't know. You know.
I hear what you're saying. You don't get punished.
If the king says do this and you don't do it, yeah, you have free choice. But if you don't do it, you're eligible. You're subject to being
Hitler
being killed
80 years ago.
I think in all the Germans, by the way.
You're
right. In some cases where they didn't listen,
they killed her.
like in Romania.
But some of them didn't listen and nothing happened. Did you know that? There
By
was
who?
in the SS, there were some officers, van this, van that, aristocrats. I'm going to make myself schmutzig and machine gun
And
little
they didn't do
children. Transferred them to an office. Nothing happened to them.
They didn't kill
You're
them?
talking, 5, 6 people. Maybe that's why no one would hear about it anyway. And they mamish they.
Okay, I want to go a step further. By the way,
So that's
I hear your
maybe
question,
they did that to
but I
show
think
that they-
when we get a deep understanding of the
That's
Rambam, when we get a deep understanding of the Rambam, some of these questions will automatically be answered. So what ends up coming out of this, that even though there was a Gezera of Avodim V'Inu Oisam, which means that the Mitzriyim had a Gezera that they decreed on them to afflict the Klal Yisrael. Nevertheless, they were punished because they chose themselves to give the Yidden a hard time. So it comes out, what happens really, they didn't really get punished so much for the fact that the damage was caused to the Yidden, because that damage would have happened anyway.
Right.
But rather, the fact that they chose to be the ones to do it, that is... Now, the Rebbe addresses a strong question, really. He doesn't even ask it as a question, but the Rebbe in the Sikh asks a question that this explanation that we just gave in the Rambam explains with regards to every individual Mitzri. But how does it explain, how do we deal with Paroi? Paroi was the king. The king leads his nation. How did Paroi have free choice? How did Paroi have free choice? There was a Gezera on the Mitzrayim to...
And we say that.
One second.
that Hashem.
One second. I want to hear it in a second, yeah? So, right, we just explained that the reason why, the Rambam himself says, that the reason why the Mitzrayim couldn't be punished for Avodim V'Inu Oisam, could be punished. And we considered that they still had free choice. Despite the fact that there was a Gezera of Avodim V'Inu Oisam, is because each individual Mitzri could have chosen not to, and the Gezera of Avodim V'Inu Oisam would have been done through another Mitzri. That only explains to the masses, to the people, to the subjects. But the king of Mitzrayim, he had to, with regards to Pari Melech Mitzrayim, which we know that he got punished for, we just mentioned earlier that he got punished to such a degree that his free choice was taken away from him. He wasn't even allowed to do tshuva. You can't answer this question because the Gezeras of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Avodim V'Inu Oisam must have come through a king of the Medina. You're going to tell me, so the Rebbe Na'ara asks a question that maybe it didn't have to be the Mitzrayim. If you're looking at the Lashon of Bris Bein haBesorim, it doesn't say it there, and I think some people answer this. It doesn't say. It says, it doesn't say clearly. Gezeras Bris Bein haBesorim, Mitzrayim is not mentioned. So therefore, we could say, well, it didn't have to be Paro. The Rebbe says that's not a good answer for a number of reasons, but primarily because once the Yidden were already in Mitzrayim, he had to do it. In other words, once the Yidden were exiled in his land, then he did have to afflict them. Who else is going to afflict them? So it comes out there was a Gezera, and how did he have free choice? If a Gezera takes away free choice, and the only reason why you don't have free choice is because you can say, well, somebody else could have done the cause and net result of the Gezera, then how does Pari have free choice? So the Rebbe says, and this is a similar things are said in other Mefarshim, the Ramban, and in the Tosfos Yom Tov, and in other Mefarshim say similar. That basically, that's not really what the Rambam's main point is not that somebody else could have done it. That's just his way of saying it. I'm paraphrasing what the Rebbe is saying, so it's my understanding of what the Rebbe is saying. So the Rebbe says like this, that even though the Gezera in this case did have to be done through Paro, so it would seem the Gezera had to be done through Paro, so where's his free choice? Nevertheless, what was Paro's intention when he did it? This is Pshat. Paro was punished. Paro had free choice because what was Paro's intention in doing it? Paro could have said to himself, I know there's a Gezera of the Eibishter to enslave the Yidden, so I'm going to afflict them, so I'm going to afflict them. If that would be the case, then maybe, the Tosfos Yom Tov, for example, says, maybe we'll accept that a person can't get punished in such a case because he had to do it. But however, because he doesn't have free choice. However, Paroi did it because of his wicked heart. What was Paro's intention? Paro's intention, even if the fact that you had to enslave them and afflict them was to the same degree as he actually did, and he couldn't, and no one else could have taken his place. But nevertheless, Paro did it from a wicked place. It wasn't like Paro said, the Eibishter, this I really don't want to do this. The last thing I want to do is afflict the Yidden and kill them. And But you know what? There's a Gezera of the Eibishter, but the hands are tied. There's a Gezera from the Eibishter that it has to be done through somebody, and I know that it's me, so I'm going to do it. Then you could say that he shouldn't get punished and he didn't have free choice, he's just doing what the Eibishter wants him to do. But that wasn't what Pari did. Pari, in other words, maybe Pari didn't fully have free choice with regards to the actual action, but with regards to his intent he did. With regards to the fact that he chose clearly, because of his nasty, he chose to do bad. He wasn't doing the Gezera, he wasn't doing the mitzvah of Hashem, but rather he chose to do bad. The Ramban says something similar. The Ramban and the Bechai in Parashas Lech Lecha say something similar. They say the Chashateitze Gezera al Pinovi, when the Gezera comes through a prophet. For Horeg Oisei L'Sinah, then that person goes and Horeg Oisei L'Sinah, he goes and kills somebody, but out of hatred. Even if there's a Gezera from the Eibishter, this person should get killed. Yeshalav Oinish Ki Hu Lechet Niskaven. You get a punishment because you had a kavanah for chet. And in the Tosfos Yom Tov, similarly, it says Sheloi Paul v'Asa L'Kayim Amorish L'Kadosh Baruch Hu. Paroi didn't, the Mitzriyim and Paroi didn't do it in order to fulfill what the Eibishter said he should. Elo Zodoin Libo Yisir L'Kach. It's rather the Zodoin Libo Yisir L'Kach. So therefore, this really answers the question ultimately. Pshat is like this. The Oynish for the Paroi, the Oynish for Paroi was. The Oynish for Paroi was really, even though with regards to the Mitzriyim, the Rambam writes that the reason why the Mitzriyim weren't punished is because there wasn't a Gezera. The reason the Mitzriyim were punished, even though there was a Gezera of Adam bin Oisim, is because each individual Mitzri didn't have to do it, and it could have been done through other Mitzriyim. That doesn't apply to Paroi. But we can say that Pshat really, what the Rambam is really saying is that the question is what's the motive behind it. If the motive behind the person's sin is his own wickedness, so therefore then you get punished for that. That's bad free choice. Obviously, if a person had heard what the Eibishter says, and he says, because there's a Gezera that I have to kill such a person, I'm going to go kill him for that reason alone, not because I hate him or anything like that, then maybe in such a case a person wouldn't be punished. You could say in such a case a person can't be punished. But in a case where, like our case, where Pari did out of his own wickedness, so then a person does get punished. On a similar vein, in a similar note, in the Kotesichas Chelik Yud Zayin, the Rebbe addresses a question of why someone who steals money has to return the money, right? We know there's a Heish v'Zegzela Shagazal, exactly. It's a pasuk, right? But the question is like this. The Heish v'Zegzela Shagazal. This just brings out the point again. The Rebbe, what's the din? Who do you give the Gezera to? You give the Gezera to the person you stole from. But the question is like this. Everything's Bashkacha Pratis, everything's from the Eibishter. So obviously it was destined for the money to be stolen from this guy. If it was destined for the money to be stolen from this person, true, not through Reuven. He, like we said from the Gezeras Bris Bein, said before from
it was destined to be given back too.
Right.
So that's what the Rebbe actually explains. So it would be in stages. In other words, the fact that the Gazan himself has to pay out money, that's understood. Because he's getting punished for his bad free choice that he chose to steal. The money didn't have to be stolen through him, it could have been stolen through someone else. However, the question arises, why does he give back the money? Maybe he should give the money to stock or give the money some other place. Why does he give back the money to the person he stole from? So the Rebbe Taka explains, exactly like you were saying, that Kol's man, that you don't know what the Gezera was. The Gezera was that the money should be stolen, but the Gezera could also be that the money has to be given back. So therefore, there's a chiyuv to give the money back. It doesn't go against the principle of...
by all the Jewish history, the Tanakh, Nevi'im, Ktuvim, Bnei Yisrael did bad, Hashem sent somebody to get them down, then Navi came, and they become good, and then 40 years was nice and peacefully, and then again they made bad. Right. So every time they have another nation that Hashem sent to get the Jewish people. So all this nation got punished?
Yeah.
Not yet. It's coming. Don't give up. They're going to get it.
But you're asking a different question.
It's coming.
Are you always being punished?
Yeah.
You say? So there's, first of all, the Eibush has many different ways of punishing. So we don't always see in Olam Hazeh, people can be punished in Olam Haba. There's different cheshbonos that Eibishter has of reward and punishment. We don't know exactly, but yeah, it's one of the fundamentals of the Yud Gimel Ikrim is that the schar v'oinish. Every person, no deed gets unpunished.
Let's say the hijackers on September 11th. They were from Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure how many there were.
Yeah,
but there's a whole country waiting to be, like why did they have to be the shliach? If Hashem wanted, there was a whole country of Saudi Arabian people ready to.
It didn't have to be people from Saudi Arabia either.
Exactly.
Okay, fine. We'll stop over there.
Thank you.